My month in Vietnam began in the north, in Hanoi. The 80th independence anniversary was approaching, and the city buzzed louder than normal. Not a second passed without a motorbike honking or whizzing by. Even though I'm Vietnamese by blood, I arrived as both an insider and an outsider. My brain struggled to catch the northern accent, and my confidence in speaking Vietnamese flickered with hesitation. Still, I practiced every chance I could, chatting with street vendors, my motorbike driver, anyone patient enough to listen. Food became my entry point. Bowls of pho, bum ryu, and ben ken were smaller than the ones I grew up with in the US, but just as flavorful. Each vendor had one signature dish, making my choices easy. I'd sit on a tiny stool, and within a minute, a steaming bowl appeared in front of me, all for only $1. When I started the Ha Giang Loop, the roads carved through mountains like brushstrokes. I spent hours on the back of a motorbike, winding through rice terraces and limestone cliffs, watching villages fade into clouds. I noticed how my effort to speak Vietnamese, however broken, shifted the way people welcomed me. The easy riders in my group warmed up to me quickly, and I was paired with the main tour guide. My guide spoke quickly in his northern Vietnamese accent. I caught every third word at best, smiling and nodding at the right times. But whatever I lacked with my language gap, I made up for with my curiosity. Hours on the bike passed quickly, as he shared the local history and pointed out vegetables to add to my vocabulary. It was also in the north that I decided to get my tattoo, a dragon and lotus flower, symbols of strength and purity. I was born in the year of the dragon, and growing up, my parents told me my name, Quay, meant purity. The tattoo took 6 hours, filled with the hum of the tattoo machine and conversations in my half-broken Vietnamese. In the weeks that followed, I began to notice dragons and lotuses everywhere, in temple gates, mosaics, ponds. It felt like Vietnam was quietly affirming the artwork I'd chosen to permanently display. As I moved south to central Vietnam, the Vietnamese became easier to understand. I took a ferry to the Chum Islands, a small community off the coast of Hoi An. There, I stayed at a homestay run by a couple who treated me like their own child. Every day, my host mom would beckon me downstairs with fresh fruit and cooked meals, with seafood fetched from the local market. Days there unfolded slowly. I rented a motorbike to explore the island, or joined my homestay dad to fish at sunrise. The island was so small that everyone began to recognize me over my stay. The cafe owners, the neighbors, even the dogs lounging on the road. My Vietnamese wasn't perfect, but it was enough to connect. Enough to laugh with each other, to be invited for coffee, to be seen not as a tourist, but as someone returning home. One morning, I wandered into a Buddhist temple and met a monk named Shu Ding. He invited me to sit for tea, and we ended up talking for 3 hours, entirely in Vietnamese. He told me I smiled a lot, and to keep smiling because it keeps the brain stress-free. He said not to worry about choosing the right religion, only to follow whatever teaching served me. And he said that the 20s are our orientation into life, the beautiful years where we search for a life's purpose. His words stayed with me. I realized that I'd been practicing Buddhist ideas, gratitude, mindfulness, impermanence, long before I had ever connected them to Buddhism. I loved how humble and approachable Buddhism feels, where lessons are suggestions and never forced. When I left Chum Islands, I felt emotional saying bye. My host dad even surprised me at the pier for my early morning ferry, grabbing my bags and ushering me on board. As the boat pulled away, my eyes filled with tears. It felt like I was saying goodbye to temporary parents who had cared for me without hesitation. By the time I reached the South, something had shifted. People here spoke the same dialect as my family. Their words felt familiar, and now, when I smiled and nodded, it was because I genuinely understood. I visited Vantiek, my mom's hometown, staying with family friends and walking the same streets and beaches my grandparents once walked. Every morning at 5 a.m., I joined locals for their sunrise swim. Looking to the sea, I imagined my grandparents doing the same 50 years ago, bracing themselves as the communists took over the country, debating whether to risk everything for a chance of something better. That decision would eventually lead my family to America. It was a quiet moment of connection, across time and across oceans. Throughout the month, I couldn't escape the echoes of war. In Saigon, I visited the War Remnants Museum, where black and white photos of American war crimes lined the walls. The images were mentally scarring. Faces that looked like my family's gazed back at me. Growing up, I had heard the end of the war called the Fall of Saigon. In Vietnam, it's called Reunification Day. Two sides of the same event, one of loss, one of victory. Aware that the victorious gets to write history, I found myself constantly comparing narratives. What I heard growing up, what museums displayed, what locals shared. I also did some of my own research, and ended up landing somewhere in the middle. It was heavy, knowing that my family's suffering also gave me the life I have now. The education, the passport, the privilege to return and rediscover Vietnam with curiosity instead of fear. Despite its painful past, Vietnam today is alive with progress. Its GDP is soaring, cities are expanding, and cafes are filled with young entrepreneurs and dreamers. And somewhere along the way, as the landscape changed, so did I. By the end of the month, I spoke Vietnamese with ease, checking into hostels, ordering food, even holding long conversations with strangers. But more than language, I felt a strong sense of belonging. As I left, I realized I won't be returning home from Vietnam. I will be returning with Vietnam. Its language, nature, history, all carried with me, guiding the way I move through the world. This sense of belonging is what I'll hold in my heart as I travel onwards, continuing my search to know the world better.